Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Leipzig, Germany. Thank you for joining us today. And my name is Elvira Fritsche. I'm a student recruitment manager Europe. And we are joined also today by Dr. Fabio Papacchini, the head of computer science department. Fabio, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, well, there is not much more to add to what you just said. So I'm Fabio Papacchini, currently the head of computer science department here at Lancaster University, Leipzig. And yeah, I don't think this is the right place to talk about my background and research, but I will be happy to provide you with an introduction to computer science and software engineering at our university.
Well, do you mind if I tell more about you? Yeah, some information. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So Dr. Papacchini is assistant professor in computing at Lancaster University, Leipzig in Germany. Fabio worked on several research projects at the University of Liverpool after receiving his PhD and a doctoral prize fellowship from the University of Manchester. And Fabio's main research is in the area of non-classical logics in computer science. Yeah, would you like to add anything to this?
No, that sounds exactly what I would have said as a short introduction to myself.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are also joined by our wonderful student ambassadors today, Nelly, our second-year student, and Yason, our first-year student. Nelly, would you like to say just a couple of words to introduce yourself as well? Maybe where you come from and so on, and why you chose actually computer science.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm a second-year student in computer science. I come from Russia. I've, completed my high school diploma in Cyprus, and I did some A-levels as well. Very enjoying this course, and happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Well, Nelly is our marvelous student ambassador for the second year already. And Yason has just joined his new role as a student ambassador. And I'm very happy that you could join our session today as well. Yason, would you like to say a couple of words?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Yason. I'm also from Cyprus, where I studied and lived until last year, this year when I came here. I'm looking forward. I started my first year here in Lancaster University in Leipzig, studying computer science, and I'm looking forward to the next years and what comes.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Well, today we are going to talk about a Bachelor of Science with honors in computer science, and Fabio will tell us more about the program. I will introduce a little bit our university, our campus in Leipzig, and our attendees today. You also have the opportunity to ask your questions in this question and answer section here in Zoom, and we'll be happy to answer if you have any questions in the end. Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen, my presentation, and I will start introducing our university. So I hope everybody can see my screen. Can you? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so Lancaster University Leipzig is a branch campus of Lancaster University, and we started operating in Leipzig in January 2020. We are a part of Lancaster University family. We are the only continental European campus. For example, Lancaster University also has campuses in Ghana, in Beijing, in Malaysia, and our students have the option to spend their entire second year in these campuses as well. So Lancaster University's global reputation is as following. It's ranked 146 in the world by QS World Rankings this year. We have research partnerships in over 60 countries, and we are ranked number 122nd in the World University Rankings 2023. Well, you see in this slide all other rankings as well. Lancaster University has a lot of research projects with other universities as well. And yeah, okay, so we continue with the benefits of studying in Germany. Why would you then choose to study in Leipzig rather than in the UK? For example, in our main campus, well, first of all, because Germany ranks number 7 for quality of life globally, and it is the largest European economy. There is a colorful, cosmopolitan, and dynamic population, and 13% of people living in Germany have come from abroad. It's also very safe and welcoming here, especially in Leipzig, because Leipzig is also historically a very university-oriented city. Here, apart from Lancaster University, Leipzig, we have, for example, Leipzig University, which is the 2nd oldest in Germany. That's why for many centuries, actually, Leipzig has been very attractive for students from all around the world. Well, if you are joining the session today, not from European Union, but from outside the EU, for you, it will be also very interesting to know that our international students also qualify for an 18 months post-study work permit, and especially with computer science degree and this program that you study with us here in Leipzig, you have quite nice and promising career prospects. Where we are located? Well, Leipzig is a city in the state of Saxony in Germany, and you see in the map on the map that it's not far from Berlin. Actually, it's just 1 hour train ride from Berlin. There is also an international airport in Leipzig, but it doesn't serve so many destinations as, for example, airports in Berlin, Cologne, and Frankfurt. And our students, they mainly fly from their home countries to these destinations, and then they just take the fast train to come to Leipzig. Then in the smaller on the smaller map here, you see our location. It's in Strossack Passage. So we occupy 3 floors in the building, which is located in the city center. So everything, all interesting clubs, restaurants, and museums, and everything is just next to campus. So we are not such a traditional campus that you would see in the UK, for example, in Lancaster University main campus, which is has its separate facilities far from the city center, but we are here right in Leipzig downtown. Here are a few pictures how our campus looks. So Strossack Passage is on one of the busiest streets, and as I said, 3 floors we have. On some pictures you may recognize Nelly, who joined us today. For example, she is, for example, on one of the pictures here, doing something on the computer. All right then, so this was a small introduction of Lancaster University Leipzig campus, and I will pass the word to Fabio, who will start telling more about computer science, the program why we all joined today. Fabio, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Let me share my screen, my presentation. Let's see. Hopefully you should all be able to see the slides. So this session is meant mainly for students who are interested in a degree in computer science. Now, I will talk a bit more about computer science, but I will also talk about software engineering and try to mark the difference between the 2 curricula. But I will start with computer science. So let's first of all try to understand what computer science is. Computer science is the study of information and how information is processed. Here in Lancaster, we have basically one school that covers both computer science and software engineering. And in fact, this school is the School of Computing and Communication. So information is one part of it, but how it's processed is has the same level of importance within computer science. Now, information is a very generic term, in the sense of if you ask several people what information is, you'll probably get several different answers. And this is one of the main points we need to understand in computer science is what is information and what can we do with information. We also need to understand that just because we process information using computers, computer science is more than just the study of how computers process the information. It's really the study of the information itself and how we process information, how computer will process information, how the interaction between us and machines allows us to communicate with each other. And nowadays, this processing of information is basically in everyone's life. We have computers everywhere. In the recent years, this term of having smart something has become incredibly popular. We have smartphones, we have smart washing machine, we have smart coffee machine. So basically, you might not realize it, but you have different versions of computers basically everywhere in the current life. So as a topic in general is still very relevant to nowadays society, and is probably not going to change for the next few decades. It seems to be one of the topics that will be centered topic for the foreseeable future, I would say. Now, processing information is a very high-level definition of what we can do in computer science or what computer science is. And I will mention two different levels of how we approach things in computer science. One is the very low level. So one is from a theoretical perspective, what does it mean to have algorithms? What does it mean to compute something? What are the limits of what we can do with computers? So what is actually computable is one of the questions that I think students in the first year have seen. Fairly sure that Nelly has seen it last year. Perhaps Jason still have to see it in the foundation of computer science. But yeah, having theoretical notions that are fundamentals for building our knowledge and understanding what we can do with computers, understanding how we can write programs with the main concept behind programming. How do we represent the information within a computer? This is from an abstract level, but then we also want to see how the information is encoded within those machines. What does it mean when people say that the computer speaks in binary? So we have this bit 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, but what does it mean? How do you actually have physical storage of this information within the machine? So there is this hardware part in the computer science degree that will be discussed mainly in the first year. We have a more conceptual part describing what algorithms are and how what can be done within a computer. But then we have something in between, which is moving from the abstract notion of algorithms to the concrete notions of how the computer computes, which is the part of programming and techniques. We basically need to bridge the two together to actually be able to tell a machine what needs to be computed. And programming is one of the things you will see all 3 years of any computer science curriculum. You will see different techniques, and programming is not the final goal of studying computer science. If the only things you want to do is to learn how to code, then computer science is not the right place. You can have much shorter modules learning how to program on a specific language. We will use programming as a tool within the modules, but we want you to be able to evaluate and think at a higher level. And programming is one of the things you will see in many modules, but the only way of becoming an expert programmer is actually practicing. So you will have exercises proposed during the curriculum so that you can practice your programming skills. But the only way to become a very good programmer is to program on any kind of project. You might have an idea on the spot, just write down a few lines of code and see whether or not your idea makes sense. This is still at the low level. In the high level, we are not only concerned on how a computer works or how to write a single program. but we want to be able to describe things like very complex and larger systems. So we want to use computers to process a lot of information, like information system, web technologies, artificial intelligence. In the last few weeks, ChatGPT became incredibly popular as one of the wonderful examples of what artificial intelligence can do in processing information and answering questions like a human being will do. But the amount of information that went into the creation of this tool is huge. Just training that simple chat GPT system consume the same amount of CO2 as several cars in their lifetimes. So just think of how much information was needed to create this particular program, and how many components were supposed to be used in order to achieve such a result. We will have different modules on how computers communicate with each other, because sharing information is only possible if there are at least two counterparts that can share the information. And we will see different levels of networks, from the low level of local networks up to the worldwide networks like the internet, the one that we are currently using if you are joining online. And as soon as you have information that is shared among different computers, of course, we will also have to think about how do we guarantee that the information that is shared is secured? How do we know if the privacy is respected, or no malevolent individual is actually spying on our connection or our shared information? Still on the high level, designing complex systems is also something we will see in computer science, but this already moves a bit more towards software engineering. So you will study at the university best practices and techniques to deal with the complexity that comes with very complex and complicated systems, and how to design those systems in a way that they fulfill the requirement that you need. So I mentioned that the last point is a bit more on the software engineering side of things. So just to give you an idea of the difference between computer science and software engineering, those two paragraphs are taken directly from our Lancaster University webpage as a description of what the computer science degree is about and what software engineers are. Now, computer science is said to be a dynamic discipline with a diverse range of application and career paths. Now, the program explores the theory and practice and innovative and experimental computer science. If instead we focus on software engineers, we see that software engineers are architects who apply computer science, engineering, and mathematical analysis to design and the design and the development of large, complex, and critical software systems. Now, if we just focus on these two descriptions, the difference that should strike you between the two is that one, computer science, includes theory and experiments. So the computer science scientists are the ones that will focus more in understanding the nitty-gritty details of how things work and try to see how much we can push the boundary to find a new technology or experiment or a new theory of computation. Software engineers are more on the side of, we want to solve a problem, we want a system that works. Is somehow a difference between mathematician and engineers. A mathematician is happy to find a solution, and the engineers is actually the one that implements the solution. So in this case, software engineers, in order to be able to develop the systems that provide a particular service, will need to know about computer science, will need to know about good engineering practices, and they will need to know about mathematical tools that are used to develop the systems. From a slightly different perspective, still looking at the difference between computer science and software engineers, computer science analyze the way information works and try to find new ways to use the information. So for example, the idea behind the Internet of Things, so the development of distributed systems, comes originally from computer science in the way of how the systems are supposed to communicate. And the actual implementation of the Internet of Things then becomes more a software engineering topic. Same thing for artificial intelligence, the development of machine learning theories and the study of neural networks, how they can be applied for classification or regression problems, comes more from the computer science part, but then creating tools that exploit those technologies, it becomes a bit more a software engineering component. And I would say the main difference you will see within our curricula is that software engineering focuses much more on practical group projects. You are expected to be a very good programmer, able to work in a group environment or a team environment once you leave the university. And computer scientists that will be more on the theoretical side. Doesn't mean that you are not going to be a programmer. Doesn't mean that you're not going to program in computer science. It's just that the focus is more on the theory behind the technologies you use in computer science. One important point is that programming is a tool in both courses. So as I was saying before, don't think that you're joining a computer science degree or a software engineering degree just because you want to learn how to program. That's not the aim of those curricula. The curricula is supposed to give you a way larger set of skills that you can then use in your career. You will learn how to program, but there will be also a lot of self-learning that will allow you to move to different programming languages when you need to. Just to give you one final difference between computer science and software engineering, what you can see here is the curriculum, two curricula, one in computer science, one in software engineering. Now, I mentioned before that computer science is a dynamic discipline, and the two students that are with us today, Nelly and Jason, can play a small game, find the differences between your current curriculum and what you're seeing on the slides, because we are actually adapting the curriculum starting from next year. What you can see is that computer science and software engineering have a common first-year curriculum. This is because regardless of computer science or software engineering, you need to know the fundamental notions that underlie computer science. The second year is also contains a lot of shared information. Advanced programming is in both of the curricular algorithms, computer networks, human-computer interaction, databases, software design. All those topics are still fundamental for both computer science and software engineers. But then we have slightly more applied topics for software engineers, concurrent and parallel systems, and a software design studio project, which is a group project for software engineers. There is a group project also for computer science, but the focus is slightly different. Software engineers have more freedom of choosing what they want to implement. Computer scientists are a bit more guided in what they are supposed to do within the group project. This also implies that software engineers will have they will have to do a bit more of self-study. You have complete freedom on the technologies you want to use in your projects, but you might have to learn them on your own. Similarly, in the third year, you can see that there are two additional group projects for software engineering. Those group projects are very focused, and the expected outcome of the project is supposed to be of fairly high quality. As I said, you're expected to be able to program at a very high level when you very high standard when you are software engineers. In computer science, we will go a bit more to the part of the use of machine learning techniques and convolutional neural networks to understand computer vision and deep learning. This is all I wanted to say regarding the curricula. I do have one point on when should you choose to study computer science or software engineering. The reasons are quite similar, so there was no point in creating two different lists. In this case, if you are curious to know about information technology, then both computer science and software engineering are a good fit. If you like to think at different level of abstractions, then definitely both computer science and software engineering are a good fit. This is something that you will have to learn while studying computer science. We will often move between different level of abstraction. Also because it's a way of capturing complexity and be able to cope with it. If you have fun solving, involved and puzzling problems, this is a bit more computer science than software engineering. So computer science is clearly a good fit for you. If you like maths and you want to apply it in real life, then software engineering is probably the place where you want to go. But the same is actually true for computer science as well. And if you like to think conceptually about your environment, this again applies to both curricula. So if your answer is yes to any of the 3 points or any of the 5 points you see here, then choosing computer science or software engineering is probably a good idea. Some slide on Lancaster University and why to study Leipzig, that was already covered by Elvira, but let me just mention again that Lancaster University is one of the top ranked universities in the UK, has been so for several years now. It's a research intensive institution, which means we are not just teaching computer science or software engineers, but all the academic staff members are also actively doing research in different areas. As Elvira mentioned at the beginning, I have a particular interest for non-classical logics, which is a relatively niche topic in computer science, but there are other colleagues with very different research interests covering machine learning and software engineering practices and human-computer interaction, blockchains. So all of us have our own area of expertise that we enjoy researching on, which also means we are still, at the end of the day, students. So somehow we still know what it means to learn something new and what kind of difficulties you might encounter during your studies. Why choosing Leipzig? This was probably covered better by Elvira than by my slide here. So I will not spend too much time on the vibrating nature of Leipzig. Leipzig is a city that is growing rapidly in the last decade or so. It's a very nice environment to live in and to work in. One point that is in favor of coming to Leipzig is that you will get the same degree that you will get if you go directly to the main campus. So there won't be any difference between students who have studied in Lancaster and students who have studied here. At the end of the day, your degree will be a Lancaster University degree. If you come to study here, the students you will have around you and also the staff members you will have around you are very international. I don't know exactly how many nationalities we cover among students and staff members, but I'm going to guess at least 70 or 80 nationalities. You will also have a possibility to visit the main campus. It's always, I think in the first year, Nelly might be able to correct me, students are given the possibility to apply and do the second year directly at the main campus in Lancaster. So if you want to experience a bit of international studies, you can start in Germany, you can move to Lancaster, and there is a push in the idea of a global degree. So any Lancaster University campus can actually be used for one of your second or third year in order to get a Lancaster degree at the end of the studies. And I think this was the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Fabio. This was absolutely comprehensive presentation. Even I who is so far actually from computing, I could understand the difference That's really nice. So, and also thank you very much for these additions you made in the end about the degree certificate that the students receive upon their graduation. I can confirm absolutely. So it doesn't matter where the student studies in Lancaster University main campus in the UK or Lancaster University Leipzig, your graduation certificate is the same from Lancaster University. And about this second year study abroad opportunity, actually, as far as I know, Nelly absolutely qualified to study in the UK for her second year, but decided to stay in Leipzig. Nelly, can you maybe tell us why?
I was considering to, as you said, like thinking about maybe moving to the main campus for my second year, but eventually it was a mixture of factors. One of them was probably I wanted to kind of settle somewhere because it was I found an accommodation that wasn't a student accommodation, and I have a boyfriend here, so it was kind of, you know, tilting in favor of just having something constant, I guess. And also Leipzig is a very lovely city, so I wasn't too eager to move out of that kind of like city integrated like university, because as far as I know, Lancaster is very like Lancaster main campus is like remote and is very like separated from the actual Lancaster city. So like weighing pros and cons, I was thinking maybe that's you know, not the experience that I want to have, you know, throughout my studies. And also I formed like a little community here, so it was kind of it was a shame to, you know, leave that, so I didn't.
Thank you very much, Nelly. Well, actually, that's a huge benefit, yeah, for our students that we are still a very young campus, a growing campus. But still, Fabio was absolutely right. We already have 75 different nationalities among students represented since January 2020, in a very short time, actually. And because of the fact that we're still growing, that we're still young and small, every student receives a very individual approach. So Fabio, you can correct me here, but I'm pretty sure you also check the attendance of the students. So if a student due to any reasons misses the classes, so this is flagged and student services check on that, check if the student is doing well. And also we offer academic support, academic mentoring. Would you like to add anything to that, Fabio? Is it compulsory for every student to ask for academic mentoring, or is it only when a student approaches, when somebody needs that?
So on the point of being relatively close to the students, I would agree. It's actually one of the nice things of teaching here. It's that you get to know the students relatively quickly. I'm not the best in remembering names, but I think after 3 or 4 weeks, I managed to remember everyone in the second year. And sorry, Jason, but currently I'm teaching the first year only for 2 weeks. It will be hard to remember all the names. The tutoring part, every student will have an academic tutor assigned to them. So that's for sure. There will be at least one staff member that is a point of reference for every student. The academic tutor will set up meetings at least twice a year with all the tutees to have a chat with them. But of course, then is if the academic tutee has any problem, they are more than welcome to contact the academic tutor and trying to talk to them. And hopefully the academic tutor will either be able to help on the spot or will be able to signpost them towards the right part of the campus and people that can help them in solving any kind of problems they might be facing.
Thank you, Fabio. There is one more question I wanted to ask you, actually. How are usually the assessments made? So that's also a regularly appearing question among our prospective students.
So this is an interesting question. I mean, I think Nelly and Jason might be more qualified than me to answer, but I would say in general, the nature of the assessment or kind of assessment you have, it's very lecturer dependent. What you can have is you can move from online quizzes, which they were quite popular during the COVID period, they're becoming less and less popular now. Many modules have a small project or small exercises that the students will have to work on for a couple of weeks and then submit their project. You have also in-person assessment. The occasional class test is not too popular in computer science, but I can already tell Nelly there will be a class test in AI next year. On face-to-face kind of assessment would be presentations that the students are asked to provide. For example, in the group project, regardless of if you are a software engineer or a computer science, you need to be able to explain what you have done to people that are not as familiar as you on the project. So you will have presentation to be have in at least in the second year, and all the exams follow a similar pattern. All the exams are going to be face-to-face in-person exams, but every module has an exam component and a coursework component. So something that needs to be done during the year and then an exam at the end of the module.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, my next question would be to our student ambassadors. Well, Jason, by the way, do I pronounce your name correctly? It's Jason, right? Jason.
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, thank you. Jason, what made you choose computer science? Why did you choose this program to study?
To be honest, from a young age, I was always into computers. My father is actually in IT, so I was really connected into computers in general. Growing up, in the latest years of school, I used to do programming, even in free time, also on my A levels of computer science. And I was thinking to following something similar. So I saw computer science and software engineer, but I think I lean towards more computer science because of some maybe I like the thought process more, and also I'm good at programming, but I think more of problem solving and the thought process of computer science, I lean towards that.
Well, when you were already experienced in computing before coming here, was the first semester quite easy for you, or did you find anything still challenging?
To be honest, everything starts at the level that, for example, as the programming languages, if someone knows it from before, of course, at the start, he will find it easy, because whoever the teacher, the lecturer has to take into comparison that some people know, but some don't. So he has to find a middle ground. So at the start, you might find it easy, but if you want something extra or to do something else, I mean, a bit more challenging exercises, you can always ask the lecturer. But as it goes over the semester, you will find a lot of challenges, difficult exercises, or small tricks that you can adapt, and you can always learn more than you already have, I'm sure.
Okay, well, Fabio, can you add something here? If a student doesn't have any computing experience before starting the program with us, will it be very difficult for them or still fine? So we had also questions like that. Do I need to have prior programming or computing experience?
There is no requirement to have prior knowledge of programming. As Jason was just saying, we do know that the first year code is a very heterogeneous code. We have students who have already programmed, or that might be better than me at programming, and then we have students that have never programmed. So we do need to bring everyone at the same level, which means if there is any notion that is needed, we will start from the very basics and then build on that. this doesn't go on forever, in the sense of once you have passed your first year, we can happily assume in the second year that you do know how to program, at least in some of the languages you have seen in the first year. So the curriculum is composed of building blocks. Once you have passed the specific modules, we can assume that you have some particular knowledge. But at the very beginning, no, we cannot make assumptions. So topics will be described from the very basis, and then we build on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Nelly, within this 1.5 years, what was the most challenging module for you?
That's an interesting question, because I think from what I've gathered from the first years that I talked to, because we had some lecturers changing. So I had different lecturers in the first year than Jason currently has. It really depends on the lecturer and not on the module contents, really. So the most challenging module was, I would say, operating systems, because our lecturer, James, was really demanding, and initially was had really harsh requirements in terms of how we code and how we structure our code. And that was sometimes hard to meet. But overall, it was very interesting too. And the hardness came not from the contents per se, but meeting those requirements and just like putting yourself in a position of just like making good code that meets the requirements. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I have another question. Nelly, have you already applied for any internship or student job?
Currently, I'm not applying to any internships or otherwise. I've been looking into that, and I often see that local jobs and local internships require the knowledge of German, and that sometimes can be a barrier for me to apply to those jobs. But I'm currently focusing on my studies, and I'm going to look into that, at the end of the second year. And I was actually talking to student services about this, and they also said that maybe the second year is the most, end of second year is the more optimal, timeline, timestamp where to apply to those positions.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. After a few talks with our, at the moment, third-year students, so they also started applying for internships and also part-time or student jobs in April, in the second year, April, May. So good luck with that. Then my next question would be, are you attending our free German classes then? Because that's what we offer for the students who don't speak German, just to catch up on that a bit.
Yeah, I've been kind of out of a loop about that, but I know there are sessions Tuesday, Thursdays, and this Thursday I'm definitely going to attend. But I just recently found out about them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Jason, do you know that we also offer German language classes for free? Actually, the beginning level.
Yeah, I actually at the start of the year I started attending the A1 course, and it continues this semester. I think I learned like German on like a good level, like where I can like order my food or understand the cashier, or just I think I can understand that, but I'm still learning.
Okay, well, so that as well, A1 level is for free, and then I absolutely encourage you to continue because in comparison with other places, if you also take some private lessons of German, for example, we have this offer on campus as well with visiting language teachers. So please go ahead while studying and not working yet. Fabio, what do you think? Is it really a prerequisite in Leipzig to speak very fluent German to get a job in computer science field for the students?
Well, if I count my job as a job in Leipzig, I would say no, because I do not speak German. In general, I would say computer science or software engineering are topics that allow you to find at least internships and jobs without the requirement of German. It depends on the size of the company. So bigger companies in Germany will have programmers that will just work in English. Startups depends on how international the startup is. So I would say I don't see a main issue in finding internship without the knowledge of German. Of course, if you speak German, it's a bonus. But I'm sure that there are also a bit more closed startups or companies where German is a requirement. So I'm not completely surprised to hear Nelly saying that German was a requirement for some of the positions she looked at. But at the same time, I think finding a summer internship with local companies, either local in the sense of Leipzig or moving slightly far away like Dresden, is not going to be a big problem. I think you can do it without having a knowledge of German or a deep knowledge of German.
Thank you. Well, actually, we are going to have another online session on March 2nd. Please follow us on social media to know more about the scheduled events. And we are going to meet with our career and engagement counselor, Josephine Fitchett, so where she will elaborate more about career opportunities after in Leipzig and after graduation from Lancaster University, Leipzig. So please attend these, and everybody who watches this video, keep this in mind. I would like to ask our participants, our attendees, sorry, for the session, if you have any other questions, maybe something that we didn't cover during our 2 days presentation, please feel free to write your question in the question and answer section or in the chat, and we are happy to answer. If not, then I would like to thank our panel members today, Dr. Fabio Papacchini, Nelly, and Jason for joining us today. It was amazing to have a talk with you today. And actually, as I said, very well-designed presentation from your side, Fabio. I mean, you didn't only cover what computer science is, but what software engineering program is, and very clearly explain the difference between these two. So we will only recommend watching this recording for prospective students. Well, I don't see any questions coming. Then I would finish the recording. 1 second. We'll just figure how to do that.